السلام عليك زين الأنبياء السلام عليك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. As we continue to look at these Quranic gems, we come to the verse that was recited tonight, where Allah Most High says, after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما. And Allah says, the meaning translation of which is, if you avoid the serious wrong actions, the enormities which you have been forbidden, Allah says, we will erase your bad actions from you and admit you by a gate of honor into paradise honorably. And this verse is from the manifest mercy of Allah upon this ummah. And there's multiple lessons and points that can be extracted from this verse. First and foremost is that this is a conditional sentence. So it's if X, then Y. And the condition is if you avoid these enormities, the response is that Allah will eliminate and erase your wrong actions. And the scholars say here is that these are the minor sins or the lesser sins. And this indicates that there are two degrees, or the different degrees of sins, two large categories of sins. There are the enormities, and then there is what's less than that. And here they're being called sayyi'at. In other places they're called lamam, and they're also called the sagha'ir. And it doesn't mean that they're small sins, but it means that in relation to the enormities, they're less vile. And that the scholars differ upon what are the kaba'ir, what are the enormous sins. There are more than 13 differences of opinion. Some said there are 7 specific kaba'ir enormities. Others said 9. Others said 10. Others say 70. Others said more than that. And it can be summarized in this opinion that the enormities are every prohibition which have been mentioned conjoined with an explicit threat from Allah, or that there's a la'na, there's a curse from Allah, or that there's a punishment or a had or a corporal punishment in this dunya. Anything that has been conjoined with these 4 factors is considered to be an enormity. And then there's difference of opinion. But what Allah is saying here, and if you just think about the mercy, is that if somebody avoids these enormities, the highest, the greatest of which is committing shirk, being rebellious against one's parents, murder, theft, these other huge enormities, if someone just avoids them, right, that Allah will nukaffir ankum sayyi'atikum, that Allah will eliminate, erase whatever mistakes, whatever sins you happen to commit outside of these enormities. And that's why some of the scholars, they said it very beautifully. They said as-sagha'iru tadmahilla bijtinabihi al-kaba'ir, is that they minor sins, by avoiding the enormities, they dwindle and they're completely effaced. And the Prophet ﷺ, he summarized this meaning for us when he said, and this pertains to Ramadan, and he says that as-salawatul khams wal jum'atu ila al-jum'ah wal ramadan ila ramadan mukaffiratun lima baynahunna idha ijtunibat al-kaba'ir. Is that he said that the 5 daily prayers and Jum'ah to Jum'ah and Ramadan to Ramadan, they erase all there are means of eliminating wrong actions, as long as a person abstains from, avoids the major enormities. And if you look at that, salat to salah is a daily basis. So on a daily basis, there is a forgiveness of sins. Jum'ah ala Jum'ah is a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, there is this forgiveness of sins. And then Ramadan to Ramadan is a yearly basis. And on a yearly basis, there is a forgiveness of sins. Not even a person doing extra good deeds, just avoiding these enormities. And then I'll end with this last latifa, this last subtle point. And the scholars, they say, muttaqi shirk yatakabbalu Allah minhu kullu ta'ah, is that the one who avoids shirk, which is the greatest of enormities, Allah accepts that person's all of his acts of worship. And the scholars, they mention, it's very subtle and it's very deep, and it really goes into the mercy of Allah. But they say that the relationship or the relation of enormities to shirk is the relation of the sagha'ir, the minor sins, to the enormities. What does that mean? Is that if the sagha'ir, if the minor sins are cancelled out by avoiding the enormities, then the enormities themselves can be cancelled out by avoiding shirk. And that's from the greatest of mercies of Allah. There's a just end with these two hadith, is that Allah says in the hadith Qudsi, addressing the human individual, Ya ibn Adam, innaka law laqaytani bi qurabil ardi khataya thumma laqaytani la tushrik bi shay'a laqituka bi qurabati maghfirah. Is that Allah says, O son of Adam, if you come to me with the earth full of sins, and then you come to me not ascribing any partner with me, is that I will come to you with an earth full of forgiveness. Another hadith, Inna Allah harrama an-nar ala man qala la ilaha illallah khalisan min qalbi, is that Allah has prohibited the fire upon the one who says La ilaha illallah out of true sincerity from his heart. So this indicates the verse, the greatness of Allah's mercy. And then finally also we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Shafa'ati li ahlin kaba'ir min ummati. So even with the enormities, is that the Prophet said that my intercession is primarily with regards to the people who have embarked, who have committed enormities from my ummah. And we can see here that we're never at a loss if we just seek good, and that if we just seek the blessings from Allah, and that we just try our best to avoid all wrong actions and try our best to avoid these sins, especially the serious and enormous sins, and that we ask Allah that He make this Ramadan a Ramadan of mukaffarat al-dhunub, of mukaffarat, that it eliminates and that it erases our bad actions, and that He accepts from us and that He's pleased with us. Wal afu minkum walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.